Well, good afternoon to you. My name is John T. Vias II. I own the illustration brand TuneStop, a small-time character design outfit focused on not just designing cool characters, but also business and mindset insights for the independent creative. Now, we went over this housekeeping item already. This panel is being recorded. Only stick around if you're cool with that. We want to make sure this is available for generations to come, assuming that society persists beyond the next 10 to 20 years. The next housekeeping item, I'd like to take a moment to talk to you about my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. After the panel, on a volunteer basis, once we cover the subject you actually came in for, how to keep creating when motivation is not there. Now, this is a full room, a fuller room than I've actually had in a while. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate that. Hope what I have to say is helpful for you. Now, motivation, it's not always there. It's very hard to keep in stock. It's a hot item, hot ticket. You go check the shelf, it's empty. Motivation is a fight against daily living. It's a fight against making it home alive and feeling like you still want to make things. And every time you feel like you fail, your motivation gets smaller. These are guaranteed things. These are things that happen without fail and have continued to happen at least the past 5 years that I've been talking about this subject. Motivation will let you down if you are counting on motivation by itself. Motivation is only one part of the creative equation. It by itself is not enough to hold you up and make things happen. You're missing the keys to creative activity. You ever leave your house without your keys? You don't get very far without your keys. It's not just motivation. It's habit. It's commitment. It's passion. It's vision. Passion and vision are questions you're going to have to answer by yourself about the things you care about, but today we're going to talk about leveraging the power of habit and commitment. These are the things that have served me well in getting out of burnout at least twice by now. And just a real quick recommended reading on this subject. This nifty book, Overlap by Sean McCabe. I read it back in 2017. This book is no longer in print. You cannot buy it. It was an independently published book. But it is an ebook available on the Wayback Machine. If you go on web.archive.org and look up Overlap book, you're highly likely to find this available to read. I don't agree with everything in there. I don't do everything that Sean McCabe recommended. But there's a lot of really great insights for normal people just trying to pay their bills and make cool stuff. So, what we're going to do, we're going to make a plan. We're going to commit to that plan, and we are in turn going to grow a habit. That habit is going to sustain creativity. It's going to make it possible to do cool things and make your dreams come true. Or, failing that, 10 years are going to pass whether you do what you care about or not. You might as well do something you care about. So our operating principle is going to be to commit to work on your dream every day. We're going to qualify that. That doesn't mean you will paint a new Mona Lisa every day. That is simply not the way the mechanics of creativity work. It does mean do something to build your vision each day. Now, I'm going to require some commitment from everybody in this room. You're going to say it with me. I will work on my dream every day. I will work on my dream every day. Excellent. I live in Grand Rapids. If I catch you lacking, I will come to your house. That's not a real threat, but it is a possibility. So keep that in the back of your mind. I've come to Dokidokon almost every year without fail. Thank you. So, not right. The elements of the plan. These are the outline points that are going to get us through your operating plan. How you're going to figure this creativity thing out. What will I work on? Where will I work? When will I work? Where will I get the energy? These are questions that you have to answer one way or another. You can answer them live when you have a little bit of free time and run out of time answering those questions. Or you can answer them ahead of time and know exactly what you're going to do every time you come upon an opportunity to do creative work. The reason it's so easy, for example, to go to your job and do the thing is because most of the things at your job are figured out for you. Whether the job figured it out or you went to college and figured it out ahead of time and got your brain around how it works. You can apply that understanding to creative work. Like any neat thing, any neat process thing you get from your job or any jobs you've had or anybody you've met, steal that, apply that to your creative work. There's a reason these businesses get as big as they do. So we're going to start with part one of the plan. What will I work on? Artist block, writer's block. If you've experienced things like that, artist block, writer's block, you're not alone. This happens to everybody. And the reason it happens, you're not prepared. So we want to know what you're going to work on. You're going to collect ideas. You are required from now on, when you have an idea, to collect it somehow. Use a notebook, use a phone, use a text document on your computer. Capture ideas when you come up with them, because when it's time to make something, it's not time to come up with the idea. You all have a phone. You all have a notebook. You all have something that you have the ability to write an idea down and keep it for later. It makes it a lot easier on yourself simply to collect the ideas and move on with your life. Collecting your ideas lets you let go of the old ideas and think up new ones because you know where the idea is, the old idea you liked. When you collect the ideas, that's an insurance policy against creative block. A list of ideas is a whole heck of a lot easier to work with than trying to pull an idea out of nothing in a spot where your mind is not ready to come up with ideas out of nothing. The way the shower feels is not the same way that the seat at your desk feels. Those are different spaces where your brain is going to do different things. You're going to choose from a set of ideas that you've already created instead of trying to conjure that idea from the ether. Now, you want to, of course, be mindful about safety and work commitments, but I am dead serious about this. If you have an idea in the car, an idea in the shower, an idea when you're just sitting at home, your brain is pretty good at making things up in periods of boredom. And that usually happens at a separate time from when you sit down to work. So just do yourself a favor and collect those ideas, please. Please. So you know what you're going to work on, or you have a process to collect the ideas that you're going to work on. Now we got to figure out where you're going to work. One way or another, you got to find a space in your house and dedicate it to the act of creating. This doesn't mean you need a whole home office, but it does mean you need a space set aside for creating. Now, I'm reasonably lucky. Up until September, when my wife and I will be having our beautiful child, I have an office. I've had an office for a few years. It's been very nice. Not everybody gets to have an office, but it is possible to come up with about, we'll say, a 4-foot by 5-foot space and put a table up on it and put some little shelves up on it and put whatever you need for your craft. Most people can clean up a little spot in their house and put up their work materials and have it ready for you to go at any given time. And if you share a space with family, roommates, other people, talk to them about what's important to you. Get on the same page. Talk to them about your dream. Try to arrange a space dedicated to your thing and return the favor to them if they've got a thing that they care about. Sane people will help each other with stuff they care about. Most human beings want to help each other do cool things. If you do not live with sane people, please consider moving for your own sake and sanity. Do you want to make things or don't you? So, You know what you're going to work on. You know where you're going to work. When will you work? When are you going to make cool things? It's not a lot of room to make cool things in there. This looks like a phlebotomist's schedule. I never looked that close at it, but this is an ugly sight. But at least they have it organized. Evaluate your commitments. Think about the things that you're spending your time on. Don't let things happen to you by accident. Anything that you're doing with your life, you want it to be on as purpose as possible. Now, there's nothing wrong with a little spontaneity. There's nothing wrong with making room for coffee with your friends. Nothing wrong with making a little space if one of your friends came up with some tickets to a thing, or there's nothing wrong with making room for a little bit of fun and joy and jumping around in your life. All the same, you still need to choose a good time and don't wait for it, and make that time happen over and over. Now, if all of these sound like a little bit too difficult of asks, don't beat yourself up on it, because this may not be the right season of your life. That's the thing that happens to people. Sometimes you have to work really hard so you can pay off some debts. Sometimes you got kids and you got to worry about raising them a little bit so that everybody involved gets a little bit more independent. Sometimes you're simply not in the right spot to do certain things, and that's not a crime. What is a crime is letting yourself waste away and not work for being able to do something you care about, not work on making space, not doing something to change your situation. We still live in a time of reasonable security and prosperity. I know the news is a little bit scary sometimes, but everybody had the time, money, and safety to come to a convention at an extremely comfortable hotel in downtown Kalamazoo. You still have an opportunity to do other things you care about still. Now, you've evaluated commitments, you've figured out a good time to do your work. When you do sit down to work, set a timer, silence your phone, put it away if you have to. If you want to have music going, nothing wrong with that, but do not disturb is a thing. Software developers have done very well at putting a lot of tools into our phone's operating systems to make them shut up and let us focus on things. Use those tools. And do nothing but your art while the timer is going. It is not that different from when you show up and clock into work, however much or little you may care about your job. You still go and you still do it because you like to have the money that they give you in exchange for your time and services. Your brain is responsive to that. You can leverage a similar brain power when it comes to the stuff you care about if you do a little bit of forward planning. You make time for the things that are important to you. And I'm not expecting you to respond like we did earlier with that commitment I asked for, but is your art important? Answer that question and then make time for it if it is important. So, we know what we'll work on, we know where we're going to work, and we know when we will work. Where will I get the energy? We will have questions at the end of the show. I made space for that. This counts for everybody, because I know that everybody's got their brains ticking and talking and having ideas about things that are important in their specific circumstances, and we will get you answers once we finish the presentation. Now, where are you going to get the energy? It's a reasonable question to ask, because energy is not infinite. School and work require energy. Existing in the real world requires energy. We have to pay bills. We have to help people move around. We have to make sure that our houses are stocked. We have to make sure that things are working and operating and safe and comfortable. Now, if you're out of energy after work or school, think about if it's possible to do your craft before. I can't do this now because of a change in my employment, but when I first wrote this panel about 4 or 5 years ago, I had a job that I worked that I turned up at about 8 or 9 o'clock, depending on the season. I woke up at 5 and drew and prayed and did my important stuff before work so that I didn't have to worry about feeling bad when I got back from work. if something's important, give it first priority every chance that you can. You don't let the world and its evil and chaos and turmoil rob you of joy and opportunity and things you care about doing. Please don't do that. Not on purpose. Now, sometimes you are simply flat zeroed out on your energy. That's okay. Sometimes you're going to need rest, and if you overwork yourself into hating what you love, that's called burnout, and it makes you hate yourself. Burnout is not permanent, by the way. I've gone through 2 spells of burnout and managed to come out of it, but that requires some intentionality about not turning yourself from a half-burnt log into a pile of ashes. So we have a plan. What do? We execute that plan. You're going to define your success with a simple goal. And we don't, like I said at the beginning of the panel, you're not finishing a new Mona Lisa every single day. You're going to keep it as simple as this. The when, where, and what. I will sit down at my desk at 7 p.m. and draw for 1 hour, for example. And once you've done it today, just do it again tomorrow. Do it today, do it tomorrow. Do them both at once. You can't do it tomorrow until you've done it today. If you only do it tomorrow, you're never going to do anything. And you repeat it until it becomes habit, and you will program yourself for success and things you care about. This is a pattern that has worked for me for 5 years. I haven't done everything that I want to do, but I still finish work and I still try new things, and I try enough new things that I get different ideas if I want to change what I'm doing. Some practical things from my own life as of right now, as an example. I do 2 live streams a week, and that guarantees me drawing time. Not everybody can do that. You don't have to do that, but if you put yourself in front of anywhere between 5 and 30 people, it gets a little bit embarrassing when you don't do what you say you were going to do. I have a daily habit tracker on my phone. It costs me just a little bit of money, but it's, I spend a stupid amount of time on my phone anyway, so I might as well make it useful. There's an app on there that I keep my list of most important stuff. Pray, exercise, draw, learn something. Do at least one regular domestic to-do type thing. And it feels pretty good to fill that list out. And it feels pretty good to keep up perfect streaks again and again and again. I think I'm about 35 days in of nailing all my stuff since a kind of rough work project this past summer. They took care of me, but it was challenging. Events and deadlines are also helpful. I see a lot of cosplayers in here, and the big rule about cosplay is if you bother to have a costume, you have to finish it in time for the convention. That's a pretty helpful motivator, isn't it? If you have deadlines, it gets at least a little bit easier to figure out how you're going to accomplish something in time for that deadline. It makes getting along at work at least a little bit easier, because you have no choice but to get stuff done if you want the money. You have no choice but to finish your costume if you want to show it off at Dokidokon. You have no choice but to finish your illustrations and get with a supplier and get product ordered and get your booth set up if you want to have cool things to sell at a convention. And you have no choice but to finish a book if there's a contest going on, and that's the best way to get your stories out in the world. And you can practice with productive communities. Who you spend. Oh, it didn't die, but I don't know how long we've been blacked out on audio on the panel. That's fine. I'll voice it back over. We'll be okay. Spend time around people who are productive, in a similar craft to you. The Discord groups that I spend time in are people who really like drawing. They spend their time on it. They get better at it. They help teach each other things that matter about drawing, and I help try to teach them too. Oh, if you're spending time around people who shouldn't be in your life, and that's not necessarily a mean remark on those other people, but when it comes to things that are important, you want to make sure you're spending time around people who help contribute to that. There's comfort and encouragement, but don't forget the power of interpersonal accountability, having people who will hold you to their goals as you hold them. And now we get to my favorite part of the show, which is Q&A, and it looks like we have quite a bit of time available for that. That's going to be private between us here in the panel room. You there over on YouTube, we had a little minor technical difficulty. Really sorry about that. Make the experience as best as we can for you. Love to hear from you in the comment section. Y'all take care.